Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Right, so I wanted to get straight off into it. I wanted to make this video concerning polygamy specifically. And as I kick off the series of discussions about polygamy, I thought I'd start off with the most commonly asked question that I've received from mainly the brothers, but some sisters as well. And that is, how did you convince your first wife to marry again? Right? Now, off the bat, for the brothers, I see the question being posed in a light of perhaps their own situations where should they try going down such a route, um, how would they convince their wives exactly? I mean, as in, they'd ask themselves, what would my wife say or do? How would she act if I were to just merely say, I want another wife? Or, I mean, let alone go along with all this, journey. And that right there brings about a range of scenarios, where particularly what type of wife are you dealing with or wives are you dealing with, um, and even the brothers that's asking this question, what type of brother is he in general? And I don't want to beat around the bush for what I am about to mention in this video, nor do I mean to stir up any issues. But the plain basic fact is that almost every brother, 90%, 95% of brothers would, I think, love a second wife should the winds blow it into reality somewhat, with ease or with like zero pushback or so. But we all know that it's, simply not that simple. So look, I'll base it off my experience, but while I reveal this, I won't go too far into too much detail. I don't want to expose too much. I believe I'm a very private person, regardless of me, having this channel and going through telling you about everything, and also to protect and secure my families and not to expose too much. And so I'll just briefly go through my experiences. Yet I'll still try to be a little more comprehensive with the context of my points that I'd make. If you understand what I mean. Um, okay, back to the question, right? So, how did I convince my wife? Look, I think convincing my wife and the entirety of my polygamous journey started with the concept of a Muslim identity, something that I call a Muslim identity, which I think is the most fundamental aspect towards polygamy in of itself. You'll hear this a lot from me, this specifically, this Muslim identity. Anyway, you see, what I mean Muslim identity is that I needed to understand polygamy practically in light of what Islam has to say about it and what the Seerah identifies about it, what the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, was about, concerning polygamy. Actually, I want to emphasize that the Muslim identity is in actual fact not just about polygamy, but for yourself as a Muslim. It's about like truly adopting Islam as far as you can within, in your life for the sake of pleasing Allah, for your own Islamic journey, for your akhirah and all those basic stuff. This was the prerequisite for me. With this prerequisite, you begin to understand, or I began to understand, that life and furthermore polygamy is molded well by Islam. I mean, you get lots of types of polygamy, not just Islamic polygamy, but Islam has the best, meaning that there is no better way to practice life and furthermore polygamy other than what Islam dictates for it, right? So cutting to the chase, being married to my wife for almost, 10 years, with me as a husband developing my iman, as I mentioned, with this Muslim identity and love for Islam, played a huge role in her own development. I really honed in on Islam and I became very serious. We became very serious in our practice with Islam, and I think we grew together. At a certain point, I've gained so much knowledge about Islam and, the lifestyle, and simultaneously about the concept of polygamy, that I began to develop the desire to obviously take on another marriage, right? But not that I would have told my wife at this point. However, we would engage in a lot of discussions about it, where we would discuss, the wisdoms behind it, why it is necessary in a society, and what other people's experiences are with it, and how it was or how it wasn't aligned with, from what we know about the Sunnah. All those nuanced discussions about it. And eventually, I believe these discussions built an objective idea about polygamy in not only my mind, but my wife's mind, and combined with her own iman growing, it was a very difficult thing to argue against, considering all the criteria are met, with polygamy. She agreed so much about polygamy that we talk about it in a very light and casual way. Alhamdulillah. I mean, we kind of really got the concept. And still, not that I would have said I'd go down the polygamy route just yet, or if it were where I was to say, we put on the spot where I would say something along the lines of, I'm not in the position to do so, or maybe not now in my life, I'm not financially capable. I would have said something like that. I think these types of responses anyway from a husband is a step up from like blatantly, plainly saying outright, no, I won't do it, or, honey, you are enough for me, just brushing it off and like, Anyway, alhamdulillah, at that time, I could feel that the idea of polygamy still theoretically in her head was somewhat normalized and like it's just a normal thing. At this point, it's been about what, a year or two, maybe three. I can't really tell, but my want to take on another marriage became even stronger and stronger. And as this was the case, I became more confident in revealing this to my wife, this intent of mine. Um, so I will say that I'm also a very strong person. I think. I do think I come across as a strong person in the sense that I'm very direct, and my confidence in her and in myself was at such a level that I sat her down and I told her that yes, indeed, I intend to marry again. I made it kind of like a formalized discussion about it, where like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. Um, Her response was of concern, I guess. She did give me some pushback, but I think she was remarkable in a way where she understood that this had more to do with me growing as a Muslim rather than being, a frivolous man looking for something new or anything like that. Um, I would mention concepts along the lines of legacy and family building and growing the ummah, which I automatically assume isn't something anyone would take too seriously or like, what does that mean? But because of the discussions we've had over the years and, the in-depth understanding about polygamy and masculinity and femininity, I think she understood what this means. She understood the masculineness about it rather than her being not enough or, me pushing her aside for something that, more exciting or new, as I mentioned. So look, if I were to advise anyone who would want to convince their wife about accepting you, as as a husband to another wife, I believe it starts with the roots, the basics. Grow your Islam, grow your iman, ask Allah for guidance, live it, love it, set the example for your household. As a husband should for your wife, and try your best to tag her along on your collective Islamic growth. With this Islamic growth, she would tend to be more open to, you know, even about the discussion about polygamy. I think that's a good step, first step. And then also she tends to understand that she does not really have a means to deny you this. I mean, you want to put that out somewhat in a middle pathway. You don't want to be too strong, but you need to be light as well. And then also be good so that she has little leverage over you. I think her iman will be tested for when you reveal your intentions to her, and furthermore, actually go along with it. I mean, if it is that you do decide to actually take that step, I think a once off a random declaration of your intentions is perhaps a risky move, I think, in my opinion. So you actually want to perhaps marinate her with the idea and bring to light the positive impacts of polygamy, and what it would mean to you as a man, as a Muslim man, and how she would still be under your guidance and protection. I mean, as the husband, in any case, be soft and loving, and as often as you can, but not too simpish in a way where it's almost like you need her approval for anything. You need to be strong and stick to your stances as much as you can. I think this combination is a good setting to engage the discussion on polygamy, and where you'll have the confidence to formally convince your wife for going about it. In a nutshell, I hope this answers the question, and that I think some sort of value was brought forward for potential interest in polygamy. In any case, if you enjoyed this video, and you found some value in it, please consider subscribing if it is that you haven't subscribed yet. Like this video, and then if you have any comments, questions, I don't know if there's any suggestions, maybe some more experienced brothers would come along my way, then you can obviously add in your suggestions to assist with other with brothers that are have these questions, and maybe I can learn something as well. Nonetheless, yeah, jazakallah for sticking through. I'll see you in the next one. Assalamu alaikum.